Hey, welcome to the Vortex. This is Matt, one of the two dudes from Gallifrey. Woo!
And this is Taylor. Woohoo!
Yay!
All right!
We're here.
We are here.
And guess what? We've come back from fatal death. The Doctor has saved us all. Apparently he always did, as we're broadcasting from Gallifrey.
Yeah! Oh, man. It's been a crazy 8 years. But here we are.
To tell him.
Yes.
We keep calling his phone, but he never answers.
No, he never answers. No.
We're here.
You were here.
We're back. It's okay. Doctor.
If you're completely confused, we're talking about the 50th anniversary.
Okay, so really quickly,
Doctor Who.
If you haven't already seen it, pause us for a minute.
We've already spoiled the ending.
We'll wait. Okay, hold on. We'll wait.
Forget what we just said.
Hey, welcome back.
Hey,
wasn't it the bee's knees?
Yes, wasn't it off the hizzy?
Off the chain.
The
chain. The hook. Off the wall. I'm not going to do this again. Off the reservation.
There you go. That's the kicker. Oh man. Okay, so this episode, it's a very special episode. We're going to talk about the Day of the Doctor.
Woo! Not the Night of the Doctor.
No, there seems to be a pattern here.
We've already discussed the name of the Doctor.
The name of the Doctor.
And the Night of the Doctor.
And the night.
Now the Day of the Doctor.
The day. And sometime here soon.
One day we'll get around to talking about the Time of the Doctor.
The Time of the Doctor.
Which is an awful lot like the time of our lives. This is.
I owe it all to you, man.
I owe it all to you. I'd like to do a quick shout out to some new fans. Really quickly.
Yeah. Well, hold on real quick. For those of you who don't know, we went to see it in the theater.
We did.
Yes.
Which was a whole harrowing experience.
Yes, it was. There were some technical difficulties and some scheduling changes. Yes.
Here's Matt dressed in his TARDIS hoodie, and here's Taylor, who's wearing the most dead-on picture of David Tennant you're ever going to see cosplayed. Like, he was David Tennant, and I was his TARDIS, which is possibly the gayest thing I could possibly say right now, which is okay. But I don't like the idea that I'm bigger on the inside. Like,
no, yeah.
I work hard to be smaller on the outside, and it doesn't work. So let's let me bigger elsewhere. We went to see it at the theater.
He's bigger on the inside, ladies.
Ladies. Is that really? Okay. So we went to see this at the theater. We get there. It's like a 7 o'clock show. Was that it?
Yeah, it was like 7:30. Yeah,
it was 7:30. And everybody was in costume. Everybody was having fun. They were having prizes, doing contests. And then it started, and the audio was bad. Mm-hmm. It was so bad.
Yeah, there was like something wrong with one side of the speakers or something. It was cutting in and out and making this weird noise. It was bad. Yeah,
and it wasn't like getting better. It just kept getting worse. And so they pause it, and they're like, okay, they come out and they say, okay, we're going to restart it. We're so sorry. And then they restart it, and it's just as bad.
Yeah.
If not worse. And they come out and they're like, okay, we're so sorry. And at this point in time, they're staring down a crowd of angry Whovians. And I can only imagine someone was about to get a scarf around the neck. So it was like, okay. And they said, well, listen, we're going to open up a brand new theater at 10 o'clock. Okay, we just open up a new house. We have a new print to put in there. It's a digital print. That's why this one wasn't working. So this other one's going to work just fine. And everyone gets free tickets, and we're going to comp you and pay you back for all the tickets you bought anyway. Comp you on all your popcorn, all your soda, and whatever. And bump. There you go. So Taylor and I get up to leave, and we're like, wait a minute, 10 o'clock, but it's like 8. What the heck are we going to do for 2 hours? And that's when we met the two coolest people in the universe, and on the universe. They were standing on top of it.
Yes, of course.
Yes. So big shout out to our two new friends, Alyssa and Emily.
Yes.
Who were awesome.
So much fun to talk to.
Super nerds, just like us, which is good because they pulled it off where we don't.
One of them was dressed like Tom Baker.
Yeah, Emily. Tom Baker, top down, fedora and everything. She knitted her own scarf. Come on. How cool is that?
Right. And Alyssa was dressed like Clara from The Day of the Doctor.
From The Day of the Doctor.
I was like, I have to say something to this girl because her costume is amazing, and no one else probably knows. So she's just dressed normally. I'm like, no, I know what you're dressed like. That's awesome.
So they hung out with us, talked with us for like 2 hours.
Waited in line
with us. Totally put up with us. Even sat next to us in the theater, which that's crazy time because we're just nonstop talking and commentary. But they're really cool. So thanks, girls, for hanging out with us. This is your Voices from the Vortex shout out, like the Colbert bump, but it doesn't actually get you anywhere.
No, your names are said on a podcast.
All 8 people who will download this will hear it. So
yes,
congratulations. But it was really cool seeing it in the theaters in 3D. If anyone out there,
yes, there was a lot of the stuff, and we'll talk about it later. But a lot of the stuff with the 3D pictures that looked really, really great, and
even the words coming out, like doing the credits.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite thing about 3D movies now is the words and the credits. They always are sticking out a little bit. Yeah, and I think it's awesome.
It's like watching an episode of Fringe. It's really cool.
And there was some fun stuff at the beginning of the movie too that you didn't see if you just saw it on TV.
Right, we saw it like 8 times.
Yeah, we got tired of it by the third. Except the Strax thing was still funny. It was still funny by the third time.
Popcorn screaming.
Yes,
you hear the little screams.
It's theater etiquette. Yeah. And then there was a thing with Matt Smith and David Tennant. Yeah. Talk about he came back from the 100th anniversary with all 57 doctors and all this stuff.
In 138D.
Yeah.
Oh, only 3. Is there a ration going on?
Yeah. It was good. It was good.
It was funny. I hope that's a special feature on the DVD. I really do.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure it will be. Well, I think we've stalled long enough.
So here
we have some things to talk about.
I'm going to sum up our entire podcast in one sentence. Ready?
Okay. Yes.
So cool. That was the sentence.
Yes, I would agree.
Really super awesome.
Oh yeah. Okay. Not only just an awesome episode, but totally changes the landscape of the show and where it's going to go from here, and
it really did.
Really moved on, and I have some ranting to do later, and I'll get to it. But it moved on, and so yeah. Okay, so for those of you who aren't aware, stop listening and go watch it. We've already done that.
We've already done that break. Look, if you've gotten this far in a podcast about the 50th anniversary and have not watched it yet,
what is your problem?
We can't help you. I'm sorry.
No, we can't.
We gave you ample warning.
Okay. Yes,
Spoilers.
We did. Okay, so the Doctor...
So, in this episode, stuff happened, and 50 years of continuity is explained. And
yes.
No, I'm being facetious. So, basically, it's the Doctor's investigating an event at the National Art Museum.
Yep.
I guess British Art Museum, obviously. And it has to do with the Vogons. Jesus. Zygons.
They strike a pose.
They don't tell poetry. Read some Douglas Adams.
Oh no, I know what that is.
So the Zygons, but it also relates to Zygon infiltration and a David Tennant story, which takes place in between the waters of Mars and the end of time.
Mm-hmm.
But then it all actually relates to the final day of the Time War, where the War Doctor, John Hurt, has stolen the moment, and he's going to use this device, this weapon, to destroy the Time Lords of the Daleks. But it has a conscience, and doesn't want to be used. So it opens portals through time to show him the man that day will make him. And insert how 3 doctors have some of the best lines in a movie.
Oh my god, the best! The whole scene where it's just the 3 of them in the woods. It's like the best scene. It's the best scene in the whole movie.
What are you pointing your sonic screwdrivers at me? It's a scientific utensil, not a what is
water pistol?
Not a water pistol.
My favorite line is he goes, "You are me," and they go, "Yes," and he goes, "Both of you?" And he's like, "Yeah," and then he goes, "Even him?" to Matt Smith, and he's like, "Yes."
These 3 together, I could do a whole season of these 3.
I sure could, yeah.
There's no reason it had to be limited to an hour and a half.
No, and you know what? David Tennant and Matt Smith were brilliant together, and it was so awesome seeing them together because they were so funny. And you miss David Tennant. You haven't seen him in so long, but they were so funny together, and it was like they were the same person,
right?
But they had their different quirks, and it was brilliant to see them play off of each other.
Well, and it's so interesting because their relationship, the way they played the doctors, it really does feel like Pertwee and Troughton from the 3 Doctors and the 5 Doctors. Mm-hmm. Sort of bickering between each other. They still admire each other themselves. They still work together and they can talk to one another. But there's this constant level of, I'm better than you. No, I'm better than you. No, I'm better than you. Because I'm the better me. And no, I'm the better me.
Yeah.
Even Matt Smith's line, this is what we're like when we're alone.
Yeah.
Or when I'm alone. So the story goes on. They solve the Zygon plot to deal with a Vogon plot later. And it all comes back to Hurt decides, okay, well, I got to do this. I've made my choice. I see what these men are, and if I ever become half the men that these men are, that would be fantastic. And he goes to use the device, and of course the other 2 show up because they're not going to let him do it alone. And it's Clara who kind of convinces Smith, convinces 11, no, don't do this, you're better than this. You don't have to, massacre these innocent people and Daleks. Just figure something out, and they do. They figure out possibly the coolest thing, the tiniest, whiniest thing that Moffat can write. And you've listened to us, but Moffat writes so well when he can jump back and forth, when nothing is what it seems, nothing is linear. And that's exactly what this episode was. Is he was throwing back to this idea that we can change our past. But no, you didn't change your past. The thing you did, you always did. You're just not going to remember you did.
Yes, yeah.
And what did they do?
They saved Gallifrey. Yes, they saved it like a painting.
Like a painting.
Yeah, so that was a really bold move. And a lot of people were upset. And here's why they're wrong. Okay. So
for once, I'm going to let you say the thing that pisses people off.
Yes, here's where I'll be tonight. The part of Matt will be played by Taylor. Okay, you all are stupid. This is why you're stupid.
Stupid.
Okay. There's two problems. The first problem is people are mad because it's like, well, how could he do this? It makes all their grief over nothing. It's like, no, it's still a good story. It's still a good story point.
Right.
And here's how it makes sense, because he's always done it. He needed that 400 years from Hurt to 11 to think about it and experience that, to be the man he was, to be 11, to change, to do it. And it turns out he always did it. That part is fine. That makes sense. If you don't get that, it's kind of... And the other thing is, people would always say, oh, why would you want to save the Time Lords? They were mean and all that. I was like, well, yes, the Time Lords and the High Council and Rassilon and all of them up there doing that end of time stuff right before the end of this. That had just happened, and they failed, is what they said. They said, oh, the High Council has plans of their own. They have already failed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Working independently.
Yeah, they were working. Yeah, from the army or the military or whoever. And they made a big point in this about talking about the children. The moment who played by Billy Piper as sort of bad wolf. Is sort of supposed to be just symbolism for him. She says, did you ever count the children? How many children do you think are Gallifrey right now? And they make Moffat makes this big point about, we know the Time Lords were mean all the time, but those aren't the only people on Gallifrey.
Well, and that's a good point.
Yeah,
because they weren't. Because you see that there were whether they're Time Lords or just Gallifreyans. I don't know if there's a distinction or not, but it's entire families, whole societies of people.
Yeah, I'd like to think there is a distinction. I'd like to think
they're all Time
Gallifrey
Lords.
is the planet, and Gallifreyan, is the race or whatever, and then Time Lords are the society, of who are granted special powers or special knowledge about time and control it and all that stuff.
Right.
And monitor it and all that, yeah. But yeah, they showed us all these families because, he is to save them. And I guess the whole thing of we've been talking about this, how are they going to remember, or how are they going to not remember?
Right.
And they remember most of it. I think from what I gathered is they remember almost all of it up until the point where they get to where they're going to do the moment or whatever. And then 11 obviously will remember everything.
Go forward.
But, forward.
See, I got the impression that they don't remember. I got the impression that everything from the moment when the moment opens those portals, that Hurt's doctor forgets, or I guess Eccleston just doesn't remember. He assumes he goes through with whatever he did.
Yes. Well, because the planet disappears in a big ball of fire because all the Daleks explode after that. Well, not all the Daleks, but, most of the Daleks explode. And so, Eccleston goes on thinking, I've done this horrible thing.
Right.
And, yeah.
Maybe he remembers other versions of him. He saw other versions of himself, but he doesn't remember what they look like. He doesn't remember who they are.
Right. Well, because I'm only saying that because 11 says, "Oh well, I remember this. I almost remember." So I almost think he or maybe once he gets to where he is 11, maybe it starts coming back to him. I think I remember this.
Well, here's the other thing too. How much further away was that? They say it was 400 years.
Yeah.
11 is 400 years older than Hurt, the War Doctor.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I can't accurately remember who all was there in a story when I was 11 or 12.
Yeah.
How can I be expected to remember if I lived 400 years? So maybe it is just that he forgets.
Uh-huh.
This isn't the first time he's had to.
And Rose says that, or the moment says that thing about, it's the man who regrets and the man who forgets. And that's such a powerful scene there with Tennant and Smith, where he's like, "Where could you be now that you don't remember how many children?"
Right.
And it's just like, well, you know what? I've seen our grave. Okay, I've lost more people, and I've seen our grave. So and you're about to deal with Rassilon, so just chill out.
Listen, you think you got it bad now? Just wait.
Yeah, exactly. You thought Waters of Mars was hard. Just wait, man.
Wait till you meet the end of time.
Yeah, you got something coming.
Hey, you think this is the only amount of dealing with the Time Lords you got to deal with today? Tomorrow, you got other Time Lords. You're welcome.
That'd be great if it was actually tomorrow.
It was the next thing he did.
Yeah.
He gets in his TARDIS, he puts on the hat and the sunglasses, and he goes and meets the Ood.
Yeah.
I've just been thinking about it a bit.
I forgot. I was doing something just a while ago. Oh, well.
On to my day.
Yeah.
Time Lords return. Son of a... Right then he should have said, of course they do.
Yeah.
Silly. It worked.
And this is a great thing. Okay, and here's my second point. of everybody who's wrong in saying that that Moffat basically just retconned the whole Time War, and he made all of the grief that the Doctor felt pointless, and like basically just changed his whole character. No, I'm sorry. There's several reasons why this is an amazing idea, and this is perfect. One, it's been 8 years since this started, and the Time War was a big deal. I mean, Russell T Davies threw that in there. It was a big deal. It was a big moment in the Doctor's life. However, the Doctor has been the Doctor for 8 previous incarnations without the Time War. Okay, right. He doesn't need the Time War to make him who he is. You know, he's been the Doctor before. Right. And he's had other huge moments in his life before this, and he doesn't, you know, they didn't dwell on those forever. So I feel like it was finally time to move on from the Time War.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, here, let me put it to you this way. Just because his memory of what happened is a certain way and drives him doesn't mean that's actually what happened. You know, we have false memories about our life. That's a human thing. Mm-hmm. We imagine our lives being far more interesting or important or beautiful or whatever it is than it really was, or big and dramatic when it wasn't. So for the Doctor, he does this really impressive, horrible thing, which scars him, and Rose helps bring him back and makes him better until he loses her, and then, you know, he gets over her and he loses the Master, the only other bit of family, I guess you could say. And then he meets his best friend who helps him get better, and he loses her. And finally he gets through all of this when he sees the Time Lords again. And I really feel like at the end of Tennant's run, you get the end of the Time War, because he deals with the monsters the Time Lords became, and not this other part of it. So when he regenerates into Matt Smith, when he becomes 11, that's really sort of the end of the Time War. He's grown up. He's gotten past this terrible thing that's happened in his life. And if anyone out there has ever had like this big moment in their life, and they've felt the shockwaves of that through most of what they've done since, they know the further you get from it, the more opportunities you have to redeem yourself, to forgive yourself for the things that happen. And when you finally do, when you get past it, you might not remember the event the way it was. You might not remember it happening exactly as it did. Maybe there are things that begin to change in your mind about how it worked. So now when we get to this story, Matt Smith is beyond all of this. He's grown, he's changed, he's gone through his own stuff, and now he's at a point where he's faced with the exact same scenario, but for the first time in his life, because he's a time traveler, he thinks, I can change it. I can actually make it better. I don't want to do this again.
Yeah, and that's a huge point. This show is about time travel, okay? So the way he can redeem himself is to make it so it didn't happen. And that's what I think people are mad at. It's like, look, this show's about time travel, okay? If he can't change the past, then why are you watching the show?
But and that's actually the point is, and this is where they get mad, is when it kind of feels like, well, but he always did this. But let me ask you this. Do you really want the Doctor to be a murderer of all his people? I mean, yes, it makes a compelling story, but do you really want that to be his character?
And it did, but it's... Yeah.
And it did, but the grief over it is what was such a good... You know, his attempts to do good in the face of that. But now to find out, and for him to find out, he didn't really do the thing he thought he did. Mm-hmm. And to know, I did the right thing all along.
Right.
That doesn't invalidate everything he felt. It just proves that now that he's gotten to the end, he can see it and forgive himself and say, I'm not really as bad of a person as I was. It's not about the act, it's about how he responds to it. And I think that's what makes the story so powerful, and why this episode was just beyond better than anything anyone could have written. Because
it was really good.
It was. And it just shows that the character, who the Doctor is, sustains itself. It's better than any other character out there, because he's always that guy. He always wants peace.
Yeah, and again, he was the Doctor for several years before the Time War. Yeah, that
just
was,
a few.
It was, yeah, just a few 800 or so. It, that's not who he is, and that's not who his character has to be. Yes, that's how it started with this new Doctor Who with Russell T Davies, but that's not who his character has to be.
Right.
His character does not have to be, this soldier with post-traumatic stress disorder.
Good point.
All the time. That was one view of it for these couple of incarnations.
Well, and
now he can move on.
It's what we call a theme, and a theme is great, but not all themes have to stay.
No.
Not all themes have to be persistent. And
right.
clearly now it's still a part of who he was, still a part of who he is. But he can see himself clearly now. He can see himself better than he
right.
was, and he can recognize that he did not have to punish himself so hard, but he did.
Yeah. Well, you've seen a lot of classic Who, Matt. Let me throw this out here. You're gonna do me a favor here. You're gonna throw out some big moment in the Doctor's life from the past, from the classic Who, like some big moment, something that really happened to him. Okay, so go ahead, throw something out.
Okay, let's start with this: the death of Adric.
Okay, they don't talk about that anymore. Okay, something else.
He became president of Gallifrey.
Yeah, they don't really talk about that anymore. Okay, something else.
He left his granddaughter in a future against her will because he thought her flights of fancy with love were more important than traveling the universe.
Right. Don't talk about it anymore.
Right.
Okay, you see what I'm getting at. It's not... The Time War was great, and I loved it, but it's time to move on. It's not important anymore.
Right. It's just another chapter in his life that's closed.
Yes, and the Doctor can be the Doctor. Just
right.
that he can be that character and move on and do other doctory things. Right. And now this new thing, he can look for Gallifrey. That's what we're thinking season 8's going to be about. He's going to look for Gallifrey.
Yeah, and it won't be like...
Capaldi's going to go searching for it. Yeah.
Well, one of the things Moffat's even said is it's not like every episode is going to be, maybe I found it, no, I didn't find it. It's going to be a consistent plot. It's going to be a through line for the character where his search for Gallifrey doesn't say every adventure isn't his search for Gallifrey, but it's a part of who he is now. He knows he can go looking for it. He knows he should go looking for it.
Yeah.
So as he has the opportunity to, as these adventures happen and something comes up and he says, wait a minute, maybe this will lead me closer to Gallifrey. It's something that can push him a little further.
Yeah.
I would also like to say this. The whole classic Who era, the Who universe era, the Whoniverse era, the whole classic Whoniverse is defined by two things. One, that the Doctor does not want to fight, that he's a pacifist, and two, that he's on the run. He's running as fast as he can, even from his own people. Even when he's there with his people, he's still always trying to get out of Dodge as fast as possible because he knows what's coming next. So it's his life for us began with this constant running from his past. And what I find is a compelling story, especially the older I get. Now, as a dad, I think this is really powerful. Something I see myself with my family, and I see, between me and my son, I guess, is the further you run from home, the closer you get to running to get home. Mm-hmm. And that's where it's come. He's gone from running from Gallifrey to running to Gallifrey. And that last line in the 50th is, I've been going home the long way around. I think it's the most beautifully written line in Doctor Who. I think that alone is so powerful. And I want to see that. I want to see that as his... He doesn't have to be afraid anymore. He doesn't have to be wandering anymore. He will, because he does. But more importantly, he knows that it's time to go home, to find home, to search for that. He's finally coming to an end. And I don't know, that it's a change in his character, but it's a change for the better.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents on it.
Yeah. No, I love it. And here's another reason why this is a great thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Classic Who, there were a lot of different characters and things that they kind of brought back in New Who, but it was kind of hard because there was a time war, okay? And they had to have some crazy explanation of why they came back, okay? They had this crazy explanation about how Davros came back
Mm-hmm.
and how Rassilon, came. They had to do this whole thing with the Master and all that. Now, these people, here's a good thing. The Master, we are assuming, is still alive on Gallifrey.
Yep.
With Rassilon and all them. He was shooting lightning out of his hands last time we saw him.
Mm-hmm.
He's there. He could make a comeback. Rassilon could make a comeback. Any of the Time Lords who, from Classic Who haven't died, who were like kind of a character.
Or even assumed to have been on Gallifrey, Romana, which was a companion of his who traveled with him, who was a Time Lord, who was long ago left in E-space in a dying universe. She could have been called back for the Time War. In fact, there's a lot of expanded universe kind of stuff for Doctor Who that proves that Romana is possible. She was Lord President at the time the Time War began, but she had come back. There's Susan, who could have been called home. There's an early Doctor Who story with Tom Baker where he leaves Sarah Jane. It's the one where he leaves Sarah Jane behind. The Deadly Assassin is the name of the episode. And he's in the TARDIS, and all of a sudden he gets this powerful call, this inclination that he has to go home. It is a beckoning to him. And he tells Sarah, says, I've received the call from Gallifrey. I have to go home. So Time Lords everywhere would have received this call during the Time War. Mm-hmm. At the beginning of this war, every Time Lord was going to be needed. So Susan could have returned home. So Romana could have returned home. So, so you get these characters, but they bring with them. Romana was left with K9 in another universe. Susan was left with a whole bunch of freedom fighters from the Hartnell days. These characters come back. They bring with them this history, the stories, and they bring with them these other characters.
So many opportunities that are now open,
right?
That were closed because of the Time War.
So now we have all that open again.
Yeah.
And if the Time Lords are alive, then that means that it's possible that once they're found and once they're restored to the universe, we have alternate universes we can play in again. We've got all sorts of meddling we can do from the Time Lords. Maybe the Time Lords realize they need to take an active role in the universe. Instead of just standing by watching, they need to actively make the universe better. Follow in the Doctor's footsteps, so to speak. You can get all sorts of the Doctor being called to go places for the Time Lords, of the Time Lords just being somewhere and doing stuff. Rogue Time Lords. It can add so much more to the series, to the show.
Yes. So bravo, Moffat. Just
thank you for writing something fantastic.
And everyone else, you're wrong.
And I'll be the first to say it, though I wasn't on this podcast, but let's just go ahead and say I was. If you didn't like it, that's okay. You're stupid. That's okay.
Okay.
I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. It's okay.
Kidding,
not to like
guys. You're
episode.
Not stupid. You can have your opinion.
Stupid.
We just disagree.
You're just totally not a fan.
No. Yeah.
I'm kidding. Oh my god.
Only true fans. No. Okay.
I'm the worst. It's like, hey, I want you to like me. Now I'm going to make fun of you relentlessly.
All right. So let's talk about some of the really awesome things in this episode.
I'm going to save the big one for last.
Several things that made me squee. And the big one was Capaldi. Oh my god.
Oh, wasn't that so
Capaldi
cool?
was in this. Well, his eyebrows were in it. But he was in it.
So much power in the wiggly eyebrows.
Oh my god. It just made me so excited. I was like, I don't want Matt Smith to go, but I'm like, I want to see Capaldi. What's he going to do?
Well, and it's so cool that they called him. That Capaldi, or he knew to come.
Well, it's this thing. Yeah, it's this thing of to save Gallifrey, he had to have all his incarnations come and help. So all 13 had to come and help.
Good.
Yeah.
That's what you want out of a 50th, and I think that makes a really cool story. That his whole life he knew this moment was coming.
Which they don't really explain how they all get there, but it's like Well, I'm going to throw out a theory. I'm just assuming, they use the moment to help them contact all the other doctors and say, hey, look, you need to come to Gallifrey. I know there'll be a war going on, but come to Gallifrey at this time, and this, whatever.
Same doctor time.
Yes, you're going to help us with this. And then even after he's done it, when he's Capaldi, he says, you know what, I'm going to go back and do that thing. That's just awesome.
I just want to be a part of it. Just.
He's like, well, I remember seeing myself there. Maybe I should show up.
My eyebrows will be
glorious.
Oh, yes, glorious.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
That was a great scene.
I
very powerful scene.
Personally love the sonic screwdriver from the War Doctor, and the whole idea that yes, it's the same software. It's just passed on to different hardware pieces. The screwdriver, it doesn't matter what it looks like. That's just hardware. It's the same software. It's all a cloud service from the TARDIS.
Yeah, different case, same software was what the moment was saying to him.
Such a brilliant idea.
And that I've seen this online. It's such a great metaphor for the Doctor. It's the same software, but different case every time.
That is
the same man.
That's very true.
It's just a different case.
One of the things I do want to talk about, I know we're squeeing over some stuff here. I just want to throw something in here. Interesting that the War Doctor is one of the Doctors, one of the regenerations. That actually means that the Doctor is the 11th can be called the 11th. That's fine. He's the 11th version of the Doctor.
This is a big thing. We can go ahead and start
semantics-wise, yes, 11 is the 11th Doctor, but it's not the 11th regeneration.
No.
With the War Doctor, that pushes it up one.
Yes.
So 11 is actually 12. But Tennant regenerated twice.
Mm-hmm.
He regenerated at the end of Stolen Earth and the beginning of Journey's End. He just didn't change his face. And in fact, they even asked him that. He said, I used the regeneration energy to restore me, and I put the excess regeneration energy into my hand. I don't want to change. Why wouldn't I? Why would I? Look at me. I'm adorable.
Well, and from what I understand, from what I've seen, I've read through a couple of things, he could have used that energy later to regenerate if he had needed to, that in the hand, like he stored it in the hand. Mm-hmm. He could have used it later, but it broke, and it made the Metacrisis Doctor, so that energy was used up. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's a regeneration. But for all those keeping tally, that puts 11 as the 13th. Which makes him the final Doctor. Mm-hmm. Which is even more surprising, because then the Time Lords even said it. All 12 of them are here. And then it goes, no, sir. There's 13 of them.
There's 13, which is all. He says all 13, which means they think that all of them, that 1 through 11, and then Capaldi, and then the Hurt Doctor. He thinks those are all the 13. Regenerations of the Doctor. That's all of the Doctors that you can have. But they don't know about this Metacrisis Doctor, so here's the big question. Who is Capaldi? Okay. Who is he? Because after Matt Smith, it should be death.
Right, exactly.
According to this rule. Right.
And it should, right. So who knows? That's the exciting thing too. That episode, the 50th anniversary, just wrote them into now we really got to come up with something, because it's one thing to break a rule, it's another to come up with new rules to break. And that's kind of where we're at. Is now we have to write new rules and we have to break them.
Yes.
I'm not exactly breaking the laws of time, but I'm bending them a little bit. So, other cool things in the episode. Loved him hanging off the TARDIS.
That was a great shot too.
My favorite thing.
He panned across and it said Matt Smith.
Yeah, it was such a good entrance.
Yeah. We saw the first 15 minutes of the movie, maybe like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah. So finally, we get to the part where Tennant, and we're like, "Thank you." It's like something different. We've seen the same thing through time.
crazy night.
Yeah.
And of course, the biggest thing, the most important thing, the big spoiler was that Tom Baker was at the end.
Yes.
Now,
yes. And well, let me get this straight. Okay. The idea here is that in his future. Okay, this is really weird because we just talked about how he's supposed to die.
Well, hold on. Okay.
Yeah.
So, two things first. One, remember that Russell T Davies, who wrote the Sarah Jane Adventures, wrote the Death of the Doctor episode with Matt Smith. And in that episode, one of the kids asks the Doctor, it's all in continuity, one of the kids asks the Doctor, he says, how many times can you change your face? And he said something like 715. So, it's possible he can change his appearance without regenerating more times than he needs to.
Right.
So it doesn't matter. He just likes the body he puts himself into.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah. So near the end of his life, he decides, you know what? I'm going to look like old fourth me, and be a curator of a museum.
Maybe. But is that really
that's what we're led to? Hold on. That's what I was led to believe.
Is that really what's happening? If you go back and examine that conversation, this is the curator of the museum.
Mm-hmm.
And the curator, who clearly knows more than he's letting on, is talking to him saying, what would I do if I were you, or if you were me, or, he, maybe you are me. It's always possible. In the past, we've seen, and clearly with Capaldi, we've seen the Doctor takes on forms that other people have had. The fifth Doctor, Peter Davidson, meets Colin Baker, who's a Time Lord guard, and Colin Baker's the sixth Doctor. So, and then you get Capaldi as previously in Doctor Who, and that's what he's going to look like next. So, What if the curator's actually just the curator? What if he's the face of Tom Baker that Tom Baker's Doctor took?
Oh, that's interesting.
What if he's the curator and he knows about the Doctor and he knows about the Time Lord because he's been informed of all this?
Mm-hmm.
And this is the personality that Tom Baker's Doctor took. There's absolutely no reason to believe that this is the Doctor.
Right.
Just that this is a face. And he even says, you'll be revisiting old faces, but just the ones you like. So maybe future Doctor Capaldi or whoever goes to the curator and tells him, hey, there's going to be this moment coming up. I just wanted to come back and see you. You were the face I took when I was my fourth incarnation.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he's just human.
Yeah.
It's always possible.
Yeah. There was a lot of mystery around that moment. They didn't really explain who he was,
which is good.
It was pretty vague, which is great that they do that. We all want answers, but sometimes vague is good. It makes more mystery. It's more exciting, and we get to theorize on podcasts.
Indeed.
Yes.
I think it's actually Tom Baker's Doctor coming back to be the Doctor. All of the ones after die.
Yeah. Let's see. I liked the plot with the Zygon in here. The Zygons.
Did you?
That was a lot of fun. I thought that would have been a good episode. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just like on its own, but it was just part of the story, which is really good. And the whole thing with the memory wipers, and they made them all forget who was Zygon and he was human, and then they had this
just so they could sign a treaty. Yeah. But there's a couple of plot holes there that you kind of have to just overlook. But Kate Stewart, the real Kate Stewart, when she walks in, she's got the remote control in her pocket that turns the countdown on. The other one didn't have the remote. So now we know which one's the real Kate.
Yeah.
Kate's got a remote in her pocket.
Yeah. And the interesting thing was the Zygon had the inhaler.
No, the Zygon did not have the inhaler.
Oh.
Remember?
Okay,
she picks up the inhaler, but then she gets floored by the scarf. And the real the real Osgood, or whatever her name is, takes the...
Yeah, that's right.
Takes the inhaler and runs.
Oh, she picks it up? Okay, so Osgood... No, she figures this out. I have this in my pocket. That means I'm the real one.
Even though she was postulating, what happens if I'm a Zygon? What happens if my shoes come off?
Yeah. And so that's a nice moment there where she, decides to make peace on her own, just knows that, she figured it out.
She says, hey, even though you're a Zygon, I care.
Yeah.
I'd like to point out, too, something kind of important. All the stuff you see in that room were previous props on the show.
Yeah, there were a lot of cool things in there. That room was the Black Archive. Apparently, Unit takes all his companions in there at some point, talks to them, makes sure they're not, like, evil psycho people.
Right.
And then wipes their memory and, like, they've never been there.
So...
Apparently, Clara had been there at some point. Because there's a picture of her. Yeah.
Here's my question: are they just like picking up collectibles now? Because like they had a little Amelia Pond's pinwheel was in there, and River Song's stilettos.
We're led to believe these are supposed to be weapons.
I think they just want anything Doctor Who. They are like the ultimate collectors.
You know what else was in there was the magnet.
The magnet clamps
from the Torchwood.
You see the chair the Doctor was strapped to when he was kidnapped by the Master in the End of Time, Part 1. The End of Time.
Oh, yeah. That's really cool. They had a lot of cool stuff in there. And it was cool seeing all the pictures. And you see there's like Clara looks at a picture of Susan at one point. And it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a nice little nod. There was a picture of Chameleon. Poor Chameleon. The robot that never was.
Let's see.
Overall, it was a very good episode.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to think of something else that I really liked about it. It was good. I mean, it was really, really good. And even better in the theater. If anybody got out to see it in the theater, know what we're talking about. It was just, yeah.
So, last but not least, with the episode, we did get a teaser trailer for the coming time of the Doctor.
So are you ready for? Now it's time.
Now it's time
for.
Oh my God! That preview. I don't know why we build up to it so much.
I don't know,
but I love it. Okay, look. It's one thing to have like a really cool promo and to show some cool stuff. It's something completely else when you decide, screw it, and you show us Dalek, Cyberman, Angel, Silence. What's this planet called? Trenzalore. Suck it, Doctor. Like, we have this.
That was it.
We have this really heartwarming, and I finally understand myself. And everything's going to be okay with my life, and I love everything.
Home. I'm standing on a cloud with my former self.
I'm going to find home, and it's going to be wonderful. And then what do we get? By the way, you're going to die.
Yeah.
Next adventure, death.
Yeah.
So, awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, I guess.
Now, of course, we are recording this after a true trailer has come out.
Yes. So we will go ahead and talk about it, if that's okay.
God, I hope so.
Okay.
Because holy crap, I'm in love with this trailer.
Okay. So, there's a lot of questions here. And again, it has to do with the count. For the longest time, Moffat lied his ass off and said, I'm not messing with the regenerations, don't worry about it. And even I feel like there was an interview a long time ago where they said, no, that word 10 did that metacrisis, that doesn't count as regeneration.
Right.
I feel like they said that at one point. Now they're like, no, you know what? It did count. I am messing with regenerations. 11 is 13. And we're like, well, hold on.
Okay.
That means he's going to die. And we talked about this. And I talked about this when the name of the Doctor came out. I said, who is Moffat to decide how the story of the Doctor ends? Who does he think he is to put an end date, on this thing? But he's got something else up his sleeve, and I don't know what's going to happen, but oh my God.
And that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
A lot of people who hate Moffat because he writes whatever he wants. He lies to people about it, and he doesn't always. Well, up until now, he never closes off any of his plot threads. We're led to believe that this Christmas episode is going to close off a whole bunch of stuff.
Right.
Look.
Time cracks.
Right. The cracks.
What silence will fall? Well, what does that mean?
He says they're going to everything except for the TARDIS blowing up. Apparently, who controlled the TARDIS and made it blow up? But look, I get it. People, especially today, are not used to the long game. They're not used to waiting out stories. Most TV shows wrap everything up within a season or two.
Well, and here's Lost did that. They played the long game, and it paid off half and half.
Right.
Some people really liked it.
The people who liked it. The people who hated it.
And the people who hated it. Okay, they hate it with such a passion that I do not understand, because I loved it.
Right.
But yeah, but it just makes no sense, that people. Lost was really popular because of this mythology that was built behind it. People loved all that stuff, and then when they got the answer, they didn't really like it. So maybe that's what's going on here. Is people are like, you know what, we've been tricked before. We're not. I don't know if I'm too into this long game anymore.
Well, and that was
a lot of shows have started shying away from that,
which I think is a sad reality of who we are. Look, I want stories to last, as long as they can. That doesn't mean that you open stuff up and then you never answer it. Look, season 5 still had a seasonal story arc, which was the cracks in time. Season 6 had a seasonal story arc, which was who was the kid, who was the baby, and who kills the doctor, who shoots him, the astronaut, like Silencio. Season 7 has
Clara.
Well, it has a couple of story arcs, but Clara is really the big one. Season 7 being split, I think, really screwed stuff up, but everything leading to the 50th, and now finally Matt Smith's end, and to answer stuff for 3 seasons, it's a big story.
Yeah.
And even if they leave some stuff open for another year or two, that's okay. To answer stuff for 3 seasons is decent. But if you had all those answers right away, if they answered everything in season 5, and then you get to now and you'd be like, well, what are they going to do for the Christmas special? Nothing. They're going to get ready for the next guy. But there'd be no mystery. There'd be no pull. There'd be no, I got to know. I want to know what happens next. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with there being things left open because I know they're going to answer them. I know they're not just going to leave them there. Moffat is smarter than most of us. And, that's why he has the job.
And he's in charge of the show. That's the other thing, too, is people get mad at him. I'm like, you know what? He writes the show. He can do whatever he wants. It's his show.
And people forget he's a fan, too.
Yeah.
He wants to write stories that he can watch and go, ooh, I like this. Just because he doesn't give you an answer right away doesn't mean that there isn't an answer. It also doesn't mean that he's not playing a game where he's going to excite himself. We all have to kind of... we all have to... We're horrible this late.
Oh, yes.
We should record in the morning. We'd be totally serious, like, I loved that episode. I loved it too.
Here.
I don't know why one of us was that high pitched, but
yawning.
Yeah. It's just I like what Moffat's done with it. I like that he's teasing us. I like that he plays with us, and I like that he won't give us straight answers. You know what? People who are upset because he lies to you during an interview, screw you. Who cares? He lied to you. Why are you listening to an interview? Watch the episodes. I complain more than most about there needs to be more trailers and more stuff thrown at me, but I don't want him to just tell me what he's going to do tomorrow. I don't want him to do an interview today or tonight and say, by the way, we're going to find out that the Doctor has a brother, and his brother is actually Capaldi, and the Master is really Clara, and 2 seasons from now, I'm planning on making Prisoner Zero is actually a hot dog he tries to eat, but accidentally drops it in the TARDIS and turns into... Like, I don't want him to tell me. I want to be surprised. I like spoilers too, but I want to be surprised.
That would be awesome, by the way.
Yeah, hot dog Zero. They call him Prisoner Hot Dog. Silence.
That's why they wanted to incinerate the human residents. They wanted to cook him.
Guacamole will fall, Doctor.
Yeah.
Relish this victory.
Wah, wah.
I will catch up to you soon.
Okay. You mustard stop these puns. Okay.
These terrible puns.
These terrible. Okay, so let's go back to the regenerations real fast.
Okay.
Because I have a question.
Yes.
Okay. See, Sixth Doctor, we get this whole Valyard thing, okay? And from what we're told, the Valyard is a version of the Doctor that's created between during his final generation. So it's from his 12th to his 13th.
Right.
So now we come to find out 11 is 13. So he's already had this regeneration.
Okay.
His regeneration was 10 turning to 11. It was Tennant turning to Smith.
Right.
That was it.
Yes.
Where's the Valyard?
Valyard well, according to the Valyard statement, this is what he says to the Doctor. So again, take it with a grain of salt if you want. But he tells himself, I'm all of the negative emotion, all the evil in you that was born here in the Matrix. He's specifically talking about the Matrix on Gallifrey. So Gallifrey had to be around for the Valyard to be born.
Yeah.
But Gallifrey, of course, is around.
It is around.
Which means the Valyard is in the Matrix on Gallifrey.
Oh, okay.
At least,
he
can be anywhere. It doesn't just have to be on Gallifrey, but you get my point.
Well, because here's the thing: is like we're not sure who Capaldi is yet.
It's true.
Could he be the Valyard? That would be an interesting.
He could be.
Thing
He could be. What if the Doctor gets a whole new set of regenerations?
Yeah, and it's this whole big ruse. I can't imagine, but it'd be this whole big ruse where Capaldi turns it. He's like, he says he's the Doctor, but he's kind of acting weird. And then by the end of the 8th season, it's like, haha, I'm actually the Valyard. And then
go to hell, Doctor Who fans. Meanwhile, Moffat has to go into his secret witness protection program.
Yeah, he's hiding in an underground spider hole.
This angry Russell T Davies with pitchforks. I don't know why there's multiple of them, but there's a whole bunch of them with
he's cloned himself. So yeah, this is going to be really interesting. This is going to be really interesting because this is his final incarnation. Mm-hmm. And Moffat's done a weird thing here, and I've kind of accepted it, and I get it. He says, okay, to heck with the numbers of, I'm the 10th Doctor and I'm the 9th Doctor. None of that really matters because he doesn't really refer to himself as the 11th Doctor. You know what I mean? They may have a line in there sometimes, and it's an actor thing. Okay, it's like he's the 11th person to play the Doctor. Mm-hmm. We call him those. We say, oh, that I love 9 or I love 10 or I love
and that's
5 or whatever.
Here's the thing.
But his enemies, they all just call him the Doctor.
Right.
He calls himself the Doctor. He never says, oh, it's me, I'm the 10th Doctor. Even when he met himself, he could have easily said, it's like, oh, well, he's like, look, I'm the 10th version of you, and I'm the 11th version of you. But he didn't. He just said, they just go on and say, look, I'm the Doctor. Mm-hmm. We're really the only ones who do this number thing. Well, so the number thing still stands. 12 will be...
Right.
We can call him 12. Capaldi will be 12, but really he's going to be something else that we don't know.
Well, and that's the thing is when Moffat says stuff like, well, he's still the 11th Doctor, that's arguing semantics. It really is. Matt Smith is the 11th actor to play the Doctor. Call him 11. Call him Smith. Call him whatever. Just don't call him late for dinner, okay? Whatever you want. It's terrible. That was a horrible one.
That was bad, yeah.
Thank you. There should be a little, like, this little hot dog pops up with the face of Prisoner Zero, and he goes, "Hi, I see you're trying to write a pun today. Can I help?"
Like a gong or something.
No, like the little paperclip from Word.
Oh, from Windows, from Microsoft Word.
I see you're trying to write a really bad joke. Can I help?
Can I help? Hot dog. Hot dog Zero.
Hot dog Zero. Prisoner Hot Dog. So no, my point is, look.
No, wait. Prisoner Hero, and he's like a sandwich. I'm sorry. Go on. I said I had to get that off my brain before.
That was good.
Before we moved on. Okay. Or no, wait. Prisoner Hero, and he's like a Greek food. Like
Prisoner Hero's too new. He's a Reuben. Don't be such a sauerkraut.
Folks, only on Voices from the Vortex do you get these top-notch condiment puns. Oh, man.
I'm sorry. I made you do this. This was bad.
Oh my god, I'm seriously crying. It's so funny.
I sincerely hope everybody out there is listening to this at 11 o'clock at night when we're recording this. Otherwise, no one's laughing but us. Okay, backpedal.
Anyway, yes.
And scene.
I don't even remember what we were talking about.
My point, I don't know. It was something to do with semantics in 11.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah. Your point.
What is my point? Oh, my point. Ladies and gentlemen, my point is this. Yes, 11 is still 11 because he's the 11th man to play the Doctor. But it's not the 11th Doctor. It's not, he's not Doctor number 11 because if you're numbering them, he's Doctor 13,
Right.
And I get that. And, I don't think Moffat's been clear. I don't think he's gone out and said, look, call them whatever you want, but if you're numbering them, when he says stuff like, well, we're not going to mess, the number doesn't matter. That's just a stupid answer. Yes, the number matters because we count the numbers. That's what we do. We're fans. We're trying to figure out. If it was something like how many suits has he worn, then it doesn't matter. But
if the show was confusing enough to explain to your friends before,
but look,
oh my god, how confusing is it now? You're like, well, he's the 11th, but actually he's the 13th.
Here's the thing.
Yeah,
it's not like it's an unimportant thing. Him being the 13th regeneration is super fucking huge. It means he doesn't have regenerations left. That's a big piece of the show.
That is huge. Yeah.
Just throwing it under the carpet saying, well, it doesn't matter what you call him. It really does, Moffat. It really does matter if he is the 11th Doctor or the 13th. It doesn't matter if I call him the 11th. I'm going to call him Jim. It doesn't matter. It matters if he's the 11th in sequence.
Yes.
And Moffat's brushing this off, and that's what's upsetting people. Because it isn't something you can just brush off. This is not an unimportant piece of the mythology.
Here's the thing, though. I don't think he's going to brush it off. I think something is going to happen in this episode.
No, it's going to be like Seinfeld for Doctor Who. Nothing's going to happen. He's going to sit down and have tea with all of his villains. And when the show is done, he's going to say, by the way, give me a second. And Matt Smith's going to take off his bow tie and say, oh, I gotta go now. I gotta go home. Dinner time. And Capaldi's going to walk up, look at the bow tie and go, my turn to act. And put on the bow tie and sit down and say, I am really him. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, waka, waka. That's going to be the end. No.
The end.
The
Credits. Okay, so well, here's my point.
Yes. No, wait. I see Jerry's apartment, and a Dalek comes like stumbling in with crazy hair on, and he's like, "I've got a new intern for Kramer Co." Sorry.
Yada yada yada. All right. So my point.
I am out. I'm out.
Cyberman, I too am also. Oh my god, okay.
And Elaine just comes in. She's a silent. She goes, whoa, and shoots lightning everywhere. That's just Elaine.
It's just Elaine.
Moving on.
My point was
end of this podcast, people.
No, we don't need one. That's okay. Doctor Who magazine came out a while back, and it was a preview for the time of the Doctor, this episode, and they talked a lot about a lot of things. But on the cover, it says, "Can the Doctor defeat his greatest enemies before the end of his final life?"
Time's up.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, okay, his final life. They came out and said it right there. So I think this is going to be addressed, and I think something really interesting is going to happen with Capaldi, and I have no idea what's going to happen. Either he'll get some new regenerations, or he'll explain why he can regenerate, or, and why he's breaking the rule that we all know of. Or, I read an interview where Russell T Davies said he was trying to break that rule when he wrote that line on the Sarah Jane Adventures.
Right.
He said, he goes, I tried, but people are still on about this 13th regenerations rule. So I guess it has to be part of the thing.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
But you know what?
So,
Moffat's going to reveal he's not really the 13th Doctor, because technically the second Doctor was forced to become the third. He didn't really regenerate. The Time Lords made him just change his appearance. So it actually all goes back to where it was before, that he's really the 11th.
He's really the 11th. Well, here's my thing. I wonder, is there going to be a scene in this episode where he turns to Clara and he goes, and she's like, well, hold on, if you get hurt, can't you just regenerate? And he's like, no, you don't get it. Okay, look, remember the War Doctor? And she's like, yeah. She's like, okay, that was an extra one. We didn't call him the Doctor. But apparently I was, I used to be 11, but guess what? Now I'm 12. But wait, when I was 10, I made a clone of myself. He just goes on and he explains all this stuff, and he's like, so really I'm 13. And she's like, okay, so now what?
I really want him to give the same explanation he gave in The Name of the Doctor, where it's like, he goes, my regeneration, the number isn't important. What's important is that it's the promise you make to yourself. She goes, dear God, Doctor, stop making promises.
You're just going to keep breaking them.
I'm the one that broke the promise of regenerating. Yes.
To not regenerate. 13 times.
I think what's going to save him is that she has to speak some sort of crazy rhyme or riddle.
Well, let's talk about this. Let's talk about some of the things which we haven't for some reason. Talk about some of the things in this trailer. Okay, so Claire is yelling at someone. She says, "Help him change the future. Do it." Who's she yelling at?
A Dalek.
Yes, yeah. Who could she be yelling at?
Random ass fucking Dalek. The Doctor is regenerating.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing too. If the Doctor is, that looks like it's in the middle of the episode. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That Dalek is yelling that the Doctor is regenerating. It looks like it's in the middle of the episode. So, is he going to regenerate at the end? Like, I mean, Tennant and Eccleston both regenerated right at the end.
Right, and that was...
Is Moffat going to pull something crazy where Smith is going to regenerate, like, in the middle or something?
In the middle of a sentence. He's going to start the sentence like, from this moment on, I declare, and then he'll regenerate, and then Capaldi will finish it and say, all jelly babies for everyone. And jelly babies will fall from the sky.
Fall from the sky, yeah.
Interesting thing to say is that this is Trenzalore. And this is the Battle of Trenzalore. And in fact, this is the Trenzalore that starts everything. So there's this woman that's there who, according to everything I've read, is supposed to be the Doctor's friend who brings him here. But then you see her later with a whole bunch of, like, the bad guys saying the invasion of Trenzalore is complete or whatever.
The Time Lord is
fallen into the trap.
Yeah.
The bunch of the angels in the snow. That's just going to be perfect. But
oh my god, yeah, that's going to be creepy.
But
popping out of the snow, their arms popping out. Yeah.
Right. But here's something. Here's something. What if everything that happens here is happening before Smith became Smith, before 11 became 11? What if this is the beginning? And what if his regeneration is so powerful and so epic and so explosive that it kills everyone and everything there?
Okay.
What if that's what starts the war, is his regeneration into Capaldi? And that's what leads to them fighting this battle to try to kill him, even though they're in Smith's time.
Yeah, well, see, that's the thing with this show, is it's time travel, timey-wimey.
Mm-hmm.
Prisoner Zero is all like, the Doctor doesn't know. Okay,
the Doctor in the TARDIS doesn't know.
Doesn't know. It could be something that that his future self will do. To Prisoner Zero, he's already done it. That's a good point. The other thing about this is he has a cane. You know, he's like swinging a cane around.
Like Father Christmas.
Exactly. You know, the thing about this too is this Trenzalore. Last time we saw Trenzalore, it was after the battle, all the graves and everything, and the big
after the war.
After the war, the big giant TARDIS. Here's the thing too with that. Like, is that still going to happen? Because the TARDIS, that's the TARDIS. It's there. You know, if Capaldi's going to go traveling around in the TARDIS,
right. Maybe
that's what this whole thing with Clara is. You know, like, help him change the future, do it. You know, then that wouldn't happen where that TARDIS would be there.
But then they wouldn't have gone inside his time stream and seen the War Doctor.
And Clara wouldn't. Yeah, exactly.
And the Great Intelligence would still be alive. And
yes.
No.
I don't know. This episode, I feel like I just have to see this episode because there's so many questions that need to be answered, and so many things. And here's the thing too. This is a Christmas episode, people. There's going to be some Christmas thrown in. I feel like they're just going to throw some Christmas in there. It's really going to have nothing to do with Christmas.
So the worst part, though, is what more can they do Christmassy? Nothing they can do Christmassy is Christmassy anymore in Doctor Who. Hey, they should throw in a snowman. Aww. Oh, wait, they should throw in a Christmas tree. Aww. They should throw in a bunch of children in Forest of Doom.
Here's the thing. With the exception of the Christmas Invasion, all the other Christmas episodes have been standalone, you know, Christmas-themed type episodes. Christmas Carol, The Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe.
Well, the Christmas Carol was brilliant.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
By far the best Christmas
even
episode.
Runaway Bride, Voyage of the Damned, they had Christmas stuff going on in them. The only reason I excluded the Christmas Invasion is because that's the first Tenet episode, so that's kind of a big deal, and I feel like it was on the Christmas episode, so they had to like make it. There was really not much in there that had to do with Christmas. You know what I mean?
Well, but the same thing goes for The End of Time, Part 1.
Yes, no, yeah, exactly, too. I forgot about that one. So any of these episodes... So this is another one of those that's like a big episode.
Yeah.
Because it's his regeneration episode. But it happens to also be the Christmas. So from what I understand, Trenzalore is like this Christmassy planet Maybe. You know what I mean? There's like all these lights hanging and, you know, the Christmas trees and stuff.
Santa and his elves set up shop there.
Kind of an old looking town, you know, with little cottages and stuff.
Oh my god, Santa's elves are going to be there. And he's going to regenerate and kill them all.
That's Trenzalore, really the North Pole.
No. It's a summit of the United Nations. The Daleks, the Cybermen, the Silence, they've all come together to decide who will own the North Pole. Oh wait, no, that's Russia and Canada. And that's actually happening.
Come together to decide who is naughty and who is nice. The Doctor has been naughty.
What do you think of the Doctor must not receive presents?
The Doctor must get coal.
Delete his name off the nice list. Exterminate his stocking.
Oh, speaking of Cybermen, holy cow. Okay, we've seen some pictures also. There is a wooden Cyberman in this episode. Okay.
It doesn't do wood.
For all of the... Yes, for those you don't remember, the Sonic does not do wood. And we talked about this when we talked about Nightmare in Silver. So long ago. Back in April or May. The new Cybermen that we saw in that, they sort of have this thing where they upgrade as they're battling, and they can kind of you start killing them with this one weapon, and then they upgrade so then they can't be killed by that weapon anymore. This is kind of this is what's going on here. They're like, well, the Sonic is a problem, but guess what? We're going to make ourselves wood.
But there's
then it won't be a problem.
Flaw to that. They
light
get
them
caught
on fire. Yeah, exactly. So I'm just waiting for that. It'll be like an Indiana Jones thing where the guy does the crazy tricks with the.
He just gets shot.
And
with
just shoots him. Cyberman will be like, "Oh yeah, well, I'm going to turn into wood," and then he'll just light him on fire.
I really just want him, because there's a picture of him holding a plunger while wearing a cape, and I really want him to just like sucker a plunger onto somebody's face.
Yeah.
Just and leave it there.
Yeah.
So I really think that this episode is really going to answer a lot of stuff. I'm really excited. Like this is it. This is finally answers about what's happened.
Yes, and you know, we'll get answers from the 11th hour, which is great. And as sad as it will be, I love the big moments on Doctor Who. So this is something I've been looking. Even though he's leaving, it's really sad. I've been looking forward to this for a really long time. I want to know how he regenerates. I want to know. I want to see the scene. I want to see the emotions played out. I want to see Clara there, you know, really upset or whatever. I want to see all this. It's going to be great. Great television.
I want to see it happen in the first 20 minutes. And just, like, out of nowhere. Like, he trips and falls on a brick or something, hits his head. And he just regenerates.
Yeah.
And he gets up and he's like, wow, I didn't realize I fell. She'll be like, Doctor, you've changed. And he'll be like, oh, my. Oh, my. And it's George
It's
Takei.
George Takei, yeah.
Oh, look at me. I'm Doctor Who.
Let me get my Sonic screwdriver.
I'm so fabulous, I'm Dr. You. Oh, my.
Oh, man. Okay, so we will...
Sonic set to phaser. Warp speed ahead, Mr. TARDIS.
I love George Takei.
I do
like
too.
The best.
He's so amazing.
He is. He came out with a perfume. No, I'm not joking. Or cologne.
Smells like Takei.
No. It's even better. It's perfect. It's called Oh My. But it's EU. My. So it's like O to whatever. So it's Oh My. Like, it's brilliant. It's the best. It's the best joke I've ever heard. And it's real.
Nothing like Alan Cumming, the actor.
Yeah.
Came up with a fragrance, and it was Cummings.
Yeah. Or there was a joke on Saturday Night Live where he was going to write a book. He was going to write an autobiography, but he decided not to call it Coming on Cummings or whatever.
So great episode of Doctor Who coming up. Great episode
Doctor
having
Who,
just happened.
Yes. And we will see you all after Christmas.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Matt from the Vortex saying thanks for listening and sticking it out to the end. Dear God.
Yeah.
I can't believe we stuck it out to the end.
Yeah, I can't believe it either. I can't believe you all... Congratulations for staying through all those horrible, horrible condiment puns.
You guys don't even know the ones we had to cut out.
No,
you don't even
know. We had some really bad puns that will not make it.
I'm going to hell for the things I've said in this podcast. I just want you to know, and we've cut them out.
Cut them out. If you really want to know, inbox us, and we will tell you.
Hey guys, thanks for listening, and we'll see you here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, we'll see you at Christmas.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.